We'll come back to Catherine in just a moment. Sebastian Gorka, great to have you with us. You are, of course, a Deputy Assistant to President Trump and the Senior Director for Counterterrorism at the National Security Council. Lots going on at the moment, of course, in relation to the peace process, the peace talks in Ukraine. Donald Trump suggests that your country will have some role in guaranteeing Ukraine's security if there is a ceasefire deal, but it won't be US troops on the ground. What involvement might the US have in those guarantees?
Well, it would be reckless of me to give away any possible scenario right now, as we are so close to potential peace agreement on the ground in Ukraine. But the fact is clear. We will not have that peace if it weren't for the president's engagements this Monday. Never before has a commander-in-chief arrayed 6 heads of state, the Secretary General of NATO, the president of the EC here in the White House to discuss such an event. It won't be Article 5 guarantees as per the Washington Treaty, because that requires that the given country have sovereign control over all of its territory, which sadly, of course, Ukraine does not. I think we'll probably see something akin to the first meeting in the Oval with Zelenskyy, where there's some kind of business partnership in terms of trade, in terms of Americans on the ground. Of course, there was, in terms of businesses, not troops, the rare earth minerals deal that was so central to the first phase of this. If America is doing business in Ukraine, that makes it safer than any other piece of paper out of Brussels ever could. But beyond that kind of possible scenario, I'm not prepared to give further details, because that is exactly what's being negotiated now behind closed doors.
Any deal that is agreed, if one is agreed with Vladimir Putin, how can we trust this man will keep his word and would keep to that deal? Putin, this is.
I think there's a great phrase from the Cold War from another amazing American president, the great Ronald Reagan, who helmed this country as Margaret Thatcher was doing so incredibly well in the UK, and that is trust but verify. We know who the president of the Russian Federation is. We know his background as a colonel in the KGB. So words are one thing, but actual behavior is how Russia or Ukraine will be measured, how any country is measured. It's not just the statements that come out of the president's office, but facts on the ground.
So if he does breach the agreement, which I think you're agreeing is at least a possibility given his track record, what would the consequences for that be? Because it seems to me a very, very real risk if the deal is agreed.
Well, more of the same that we have leveraged against Moscow in the last 3 years. So it has really been isolated in terms of global trade, in terms of various sanction measures. We are the most powerful nation the world has ever seen. It's not just about bombs and bullets, it's also about the economic and diplomatic pressure we can bring to bear. So along with our allies in the EU, in NATO, the sphere of mobility for a Kremlin that reneges on any putative agreement is going to be very, very small.
Does President Trump blame Ukraine for this war? Because he told Fox News yesterday, it's not a war that should have started. You don't do that. You don't take on a nation that's 10 times your size, which seems to me to be suggesting that Ukraine should have let itself be invaded and not responded.
No, that's a hackneyed talking point of the gutter press. We don't blame Ukraine for being invaded. That's asinine, that's moronic, that's imbecilic.
What did he mean? You don't take on a nation that's 10 times your size. What does that mean?
The bottom line is the following. When President Trump was the commander-in-chief the first time around, there were no new wars. We didn't have Russia invading anyone. It's interesting that Russia only aggrandized its territory when Obama was in office, when Biden was in office. So what the president is making very clear, which is simply an empirical statement of fact, the world is a safer place when he is behind the resolute desk in the Oval.
The point about you don't take on a nation that's 10 times your size, I mean, Ukraine didn't take on Russia. Russia invaded unprovoked and Ukraine sought to defend itself. So what does he mean by that? You don't take on a nation that's 10 times your size?
We're not casting aspersions and we are not blaming Kiev at all. So the fact is, when President Trump is the commander-in-chief. The world is a safer place. We've seen it's hard to keep up with the president, and he is our boss here in the White House. We've had more than half a dozen peace treaties since he entered office, whether it's in Africa, whether it's Armenia, Azerbaijan. So let's just talk about the facts. When the left is in control,
right,
the world is a powder keg. And I'm not. You can try and interrupt me again and ask me a question for a third time.
I'm just going to bring you back to the first one, if I could.
The bottom line is everybody is safer.
All right, I hear your point on that. I hear your point. It's a slightly separate one I asked you, which was just what President Trump meant when he said in relation to Ukraine, you don't do that. You don't take on a nation that's 10 times your size. What does he think Ukraine should have done differently in this conflict?
I'm not going to talk about hypotheticals, because if he had been in the White House... No. If he had been in the White House, if the Democrats hasn't stolen the election the last time
Mr.
around...
Gorka, that's not what I'm asking you about.
No, Ben, you've got to stop now. Ben,
you're answering a question I haven't asked you.
You've interrupted me 6 times.
Because you haven't answered my question.
If you don't like the answer, you can terminate the interview.
It's not
But if you want to actually let me speak, I will tell you...
What did Donald Trump mean? You don't do that. You don't take on a nation that's 10 times your size.
Ben, it never would have been invaded. Period. End of story.
It's not what I asked, Mr. Gorka.
I don't care what you asked. I'm giving you the truth. I'm giving you... No, because you're using an... If you want to ask him what he meant, try and get an interview with him. I am your subject. Can you help us out with that, Mr. Gorka? I'm happy to, but only if you don't do the classic prevarication and interruption, because we're not interested in fake news, okay?
Let me just
phrase. Simple.
Let me phrase. It's no fake news here. Let me phrase it a slightly different way.
Then I will end the interview.
Let me just ask you a slightly different way. Then, is it the view of the Trump administration?
Do not ask me another way, because I simply will not ask.
Is it the view of the Trump administration that Vladimir Putin was wrong to invade Ukraine?
Don't be fake.
Mr. Gorka, not fake news. Really simple question.
I'm not going to do this for the 7th time.
Okay, different question then. Was Vladimir Putin wrong to invade Ukraine?
Of course, absolutely.
But Donald Trump keeps saying, "Oh, it's NATO. It was." Donald Trump seems to keep suggesting that ultimately it's Ukraine's fault that they got invaded.
Seems to suggest.
He does.
That's just not journalism.
This war was about NATO, he said at the weekend. Was it? I thought it was about Russian imperialism.
You just can't give it up, can you? There is no person in the world, nobody right now, not van der Leyen, no one. Not a prime minister, not any other president who can stop the bloodshed. And all you want to do is...
But he hasn't yet.
He seems to say that.
He hasn't stopped the bloodshed yet. Ukrainian children are dying this week.
Okay, and you're going to fix it?
I'm not going to fix it. No one's going to listen to me. I'm not the president of I'm not the leader of the free world.
Right. There's one person who's going to stop it. And it's not you, and it's not any other head of state in the world. It's the man who's sitting in the White House. That's it. And if you want to continue to do silly gotcha questions...
Not silly gotcha questions at all.
What does he see?
Perfectly reasonable question.
Look, of course,
when will it end? When would you expect this war to end, Mr. Gorka?
Well, if you listen to what the Premier of Ukraine said less than 24 hours ago, it could end very, very soon. So do you want to cast aspersions against Zelenskyy now?
Not at all. I just asked because, of course, President Trump said, I will end this war on day 1. We're now on day, well, you tell me, we're well into 6 months in office.
But that's the important thing, isn't it, right? It's for you to score points against the president.
I'm just asking when this bloody, brutal war will end.
We know what you're doing, Ben. You're trying to score points because you don't like the president.
Just asking you when the war, in your view, as the senior director for Counterterrorism...
I don't have a crystal ball. Do you have a crystal ball?
I'm not privy to these talks. I'm not the deputy assistant to the president of the United States of America,
Even if you were privy to them, can you predict the future? I've yet to know a human being who can predict the future.
Do you think the war will still, in your view, do you think the war will still be waging at the end of this year?
I pray to the Lord above that it's not, and I think that we have the greatest chance ever right now to stop the bloodshed imminently.
Why do you think President Trump wasn't able to end it on day 1 like he promised?
Oh, you're a child. Stop it, Ben.
No, he made that promise to the American people.
Stop it, Ben. Stop it, Ben.
Why is it taking so long?
You really don't care about the suffering, do you? You just want to score points.
Not at all.
What you do. All you can do is bring it back to he said that, he said this. Why don't we talk about the fact that only one person can do what happened in Alaska. Only one person can do what happened in the White House on Monday. But no, you want to score points. It's pathetic. Grow up, Ben.
It's my job.
Grow up, Ben.
It's my job to hold people in positions of power, like you and the Trump administration, to account and to compare what you said to what you've done.
Points.
And I'm not saying President Trump hasn't made progress. I'm simply saying he promised one thing, and right now that promise hasn't been delivered. You can't dispute that.
I'm not here for you to score points against the president.
But you can't dispute the fact that he said more than 60 times, "I'll end the war on day one." And we're 6 months in.
If you bring this back one more time, you have demonstrated that you're a child and you're not actually a journalist.
Why can't you answer that? Why can't you answer it?
Because I'm not here to score points against the man 80 million people chose as the commander-in-chief. It's not my job.
Do you accept?
You may think it is your job, but it's not.
Do you accept it's an unfulfilled, perhaps a broken promise at this point in time?
I'm not going to answer your stupid, childish questions.
All right, we'll leave it there, Mr. Gorka. Really appreciate your time. Sebastian Gorka is the Deputy Assistant to President Trump and Senior Director for Counterterrorism on the National Security Council. President Trump said, for what it's worth, more than 60 times, "I will end this war on day one," and then admitted in the Oval Office on Monday that it had been far harder than he thought. Quite why he thought it would be as easy as he made it sound, I don't know. Mr. Gorka won't tell us. But there we go. We do our best. Thank you very much indeed, Sebastian Gorka.